First of all, I welcome you all to AIM 2020, and this is the fourth episode of Young Leaders Podcast. If you had missed out on the previous episodes, I will post the link in the description for you to check it out. For this episode, we have our very special guest, Mrs. Srisha Mohandas. Mrs. Srisha is the Director of Education at SSVM Institutions and is also an entrepreneur, musician, and a singer. She shares her journey with Dr. Abhishek, who will be hosting the event for today. So without any further ado, let's get the video started.
Hello Srisha, how are you doing?
Hi Abhishek, I'm doing very well and thank you for inviting me to be speaking today with you, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And thanks to everyone for joining us here as well.
Yes, we are live on Facebook as well as we are live on Zoom. So any of the participants, if they have any questions for Srisha, can ask them in the chat or in the FB comments. They will be collated and they'll be given to me. Now I'll ask you at the end of it. So that will be the format of the presentation for now. So let's jump right in. So before we are going to, because it's you're involved in a lot of things. You're in education, you are in music, and in music you almost have an extraordinary career. And in music, it's music as well. You're also a sports person who actually holds records in sports, which is extraordinary again. Let's go into them one by one. So, but before we jump into them, let's talk about what you're doing currently. So you are the Director of Education at SSVM Group of Schools. So it's extraordinary post, because you are responsible for the education of so many thousands of students in their most important developmental phase of their life, and it's this phase that'll and one can argue that people in that position are almost responsible for how the society shapes up in the future. I would like to hear you talk about what it entails and what is it that you do, and how you go about managing such an extraordinary responsibility.
Well, thank you for that. I think it all began when I was probably even 1 year old, because I think you'll be surprised listening to it, because I'm very, very much inspired by my parents, and they are the ones who founded SSVM Institutions, and we came from a very humble background. And right from when I was 1 year old, I've been looking and observing at how passionate they are about providing quality education for the children. And I've been seeing stages of development and stages of growth, not just in building the 5 schools, but seeing the growth of so many students, thousands of children. And it's not just the children, but the learning community on the whole. So we have the parents, the teachers, the students, and starting such an organization in a vicinity where there was a need for quality education is something that has been my inspiration. And being in a small village, called Sirmugai, and a town called Medapalyam, that's where it all began. And I studied and grew up in the very same institution, and it was not an easy experience for me, meaning that it was not an easy feat to be the correspondent's daughter, studying in the same school.
You can't, sometimes there's no right foot forward. You don't know what to do as well, because your parents are in charge of the school, basically.
So a lot of eyes are on me and a lot of expectations, but that's not just it. As a student, I had a different experience from, if you see, from those of the others. I was not just a student, but I had to also see the different kinds of perspectives from the management side, and how the teachers are working, and how the children are, not just looking at my friends and my classmates, but looking at the entire community as a whole. I've learned so much growing up in this organization. So it has given a very holistic perspective for me, and this institution helped me become who I am today, right? And developing that passion for education. Plus, while I was studying in the school, I was able to, you know, experience a lot of different, you know, sports to cultural activities and take part in so many different areas that I could explore and know what I would be best in and you know, go and take that path. And so education for me has always been my number one passion, and no matter what I do. And so I went to University of British Columbia to do my undergraduation right after I graduated from SSVM. And there it was a completely different experience living
Yeah.
for 4 years independently. And I was hit by cultural shock probably in the beginning, but I learned to adapt, and I learned to learn how the culture is so diverse, and they're so welcoming, and they're so you can learn a lot from just one city, and learn a lot from your a network, from your friends and from the university and from your professors. So that happened to me, and those 4 years are really the most cherishable ones in my life, also because I had a very crucial few years of personal development and professional development there. And so my passion for education continued, being inspired by how
Never
my,
stopped. Never
yes.
stopped really from the age of 1. So that's really extraordinary to think about. And yeah, and Vancouver is one of the nicest cities in really one of the nicest countries in the world. So it must have been quite a wonderful experience. It's not as cold as the rest of Canada as well. So I think that that kind of is also very good for an Indian to be there.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoyed about your description of it is that how you're still connected to your roots. You still acknowledge Mettupalayam and the village that you can't as a town that you come from. That's really extraordinary, and such acknowledgement is quite rare in this society. It shows your maturity and understanding this. I'm really appreciative of that. In addition to that, what also impressed me was your description of the holistic development, because you were exposed to managerial or the inputs from the management side of the education while you're still a student. So you were also able to carry inputs from the student side of it. You hear all of this where students are stakeholders in their education and they should have an active role in it as well. And you were in this unique position where you were able to actually affect change in that way. And now you're able to bring that experience as a director of education to the exact school that you grew up in. So that's a really extraordinary thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the experience I value the most, and also that's one of the reasons why I've always wanted to come back, no matter where I was
Hmm.
put in for my undergraduation. Although I love Vancouver so much, I knew that this is my passion, and this is going to be my career, and this is going to be what I will be doing, because I know that I'll be making a difference in multiple lives, thousands of
Hmm.
lives. And
Yes. Every year, thousands of lives. Yeah.
exactly. And it's always every day you wake up with this purpose of making a difference in children's lives,
Hmm.
who are going to be the most valuable citizens of tomorrow.
Very
And
true.
it is our responsibility, and we have the advantage of creating such valuable citizens for tomorrow. And we know that they're all going to turn back at us and give back to us at some point by being successful in their path of passion and everything. So that is going to make a society as a whole more
Hmm.
holistic and developed. So for that, we are always very much interested, and that's one of the reasons why we wake up in the morning and
Hmm.
go to the school, be with the children, and develop them into whole citizens. So that is really a very rewarding experience, I would
I'm
say.
now envious of you school students now to have a leader in education who is so driven that also drives you similarly. You feed off inspiration of others, and I can very well see how from how you're talking that you must be an incredible a source of inspiration and drive for your students as well. That's excellent. I'm now envious of SSVM school students right now. I'm way past the school age myself, so no point in crying over spilled milk. But so and right now we are in extraordinarily strange times, and yeah, and how is your philosophy of education and your organization philosophy of education carried over during the times of COVID? Because it is these times do test the will of people, and I do know that you do possess an indomitable spirit. Even lockdown can't keep you down. We'll go into what you do in the EduTalk series that you've done. But before we do that, can you tell me about how your educational system and philosophy has performed or has modified under the times of COVID?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that's a great question because we know that almost all of the fields have had definitely a dynamic change coming into their organizations and their fields during unprecedented times like
Mm,
these. And so for us in education, it has definitely been very different. Um, Especially for schools who have been able to adapt to change very quickly, it would have been even harder. But
yeah.
change is the only constant, and we know that. And this COVID period has taught all of us, necessity is the mother of
Mm,
innovation, and so it has happened. And education before this, or education is one the entire time, no matter what change comes in.
mm,
Right from
mm,
when we're born, we're learning something or the other until our last breath. And so, no matter who it is, we're always learning. So, education in that way is the same. But when we look at the system and looking at the schools, looking at the traditional systems, it has been different in terms of how we had physical interaction with teachers and
yeah.
in the classroom. But that is really most valuable, and that's something that we would have learned. Before lockdown, we would have been talking about embracing technology and having so many different integrations. But we would have learned that as much as technology is important, digitalization is important,
Mm,
uh, there is no way you can go without having a
yeah.
human aspect to
Obviously.
that. So that applies to any field. And in education, especially, it has been that way. We've all realized the value of
Mm,
having that human interaction and having the peer learning. And one of the reasons you go to school is also because you learn to be more social with others, and you
mm,
learn from each other.
yeah.
So that's one thing probably the teachers and the students will be missing a lot.
Mm,
But I must say that the teachers and students, or the parents, whoever were with a traditional mindset before the lockdown, thinking they couldn't have adapted to technology, or thinking they're not tech savvy. Right now, they're all very much tech savvy, and the teachers were very quick in adapting to such a change and running online classes. All the schools are running online classes, and so they're the teachers have we have to salute the teachers on how much effort they put in to bring quality content to that 1 hour class that they take for the children, to keep them engaged, especially because
yeah.
children might get distracted while they're watching their classes, but they put in all they can. The teachers put in all they can to keep them engaged. And
Mm,
I've seen teachers who are awake until 12 midnight, and they learn from the other teachers on how to use the technology they have efficiently and effectively. So
mm,
we, as much as we respect and we appreciate the frontline workers during this time, I
mm.
believe we also need to pay our respect to the teachers who have been putting in so much effort. And
Yeah,
um,
absolutely, absolutely. And I really like the way you talk. You said said, that growth is possible for everyone, even for people who didn't suspect that they could grow into the kinds of or adapt into the kind of things that time does. You're all even these times are educating in of themselves. They also force us to grow and adapt, and there you learn some much more survival skills. And yes, it is definitely a really difficult thing to do, because nobody I don't think there's any viable alternative to being in person and having teachers as mentors, and having them being present in your life physically. But it's just something we have to adapt, and for the foreseeable future as well. Well, let's see how long this continues. It's a difficult time, but even such difficult times don't seem to keep you down one bit, because you've been quite extraordinarily busy even during the lockdown. I really enjoyed watching several episodes of your Edu Talk series that you began in the SSPM, and you talked with leaders from various fields. Actor, one of them being actor Madhavan, and the other one being singer Vijay Prakash. There was also an environmentalist that covers topics such as patriotism, environmental conservation, and excellence in whatever you do, whatever field you choose to do. There is also extraordinary messages that said it's okay to find time stuff. So it's not just blind aphorisms that you're throwing. You're actually showing a lot more practical aspects to it. I really enjoyed watching it. It was very inspiring and very reassuring at the same time. Could you tell me about some of the more wonderful moments that you had during the EduTalk
Yeah,
series?
I'd
And
love
some
to
of the
share. I'd love to share. So, EduTalk has been one of really rewarding experiences during this lockdown, especially because we were having some of these events in person at school, inviting speakers and helping
Mm,
inspire the children through um bringing speakers from various fields. And so one of our primary goals is to, when we talk about holistic education and holistic development of children, we look
mm,
at there. I think you would know this. So there are different parents in the society who are still enforcing their wishes, their opinions, or their passion for
mm,
career on their
mm.
children.
Yeah,
And say, for example, engineering and medicine, two cliche professions that we have.
yeah.
So a lot of students maybe would not have that confidence to voice out
Mm,
to their parents. Trying to be respectful to their parents. They do not know how to voice out their opinions or their strong passion for a career that they choose, be it agriculture or be it photography or be it any
mm,
creative industry or things like these. So the communication is really important in all these as well. So in order to inspire these children, to learn more and let it be artificial intelligence, data science, or the new era of digitalization, so many children are so curious about so many eh, opportunities available for them to explore. So these the speakers were coming in. They're speaking about acting. They're speaking about singing. They're speaking about environment. This could trigger inspiration and in so many
mm,
children to think about their passion in a different way, and all these fields definitely have demanding roles in the society today.
mm,
And it's not like how it was 20 years back when our parents were going to their universities. They had a different set of roles in the society, but we being young, the generation right now, we have to prepare ourselves for what is coming forward. And so that's one really important aspect for them to develop. And so we've had speakers from all different fields, like you said. And I had fun conversating with all of them. And one of my really, I think I enjoyed actor Madhavan's discussion, because being an actor, a lot of people have different perspectives of an actor. And he was a very inspirational speaker, and he posed the importance of communication and how the children should, embrace the importance of communicating no matter what field they go to. Because even if you're a scientist, you're a doctor, if you have a well-researched done project, how are you going to be successful in it if you're not able to communicate your idea?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are social beings at the end, right? So how we perform in the social communities is an extent of how successful and happy we are as human beings. So communication is very essential.
Exactly. So a lot of children in today's world might think why communicating in English is so important, or why are the schools telling us to speak in English all the time when we're at schools? But we're preparing them to become better citizens, for them to be able to be very confident citizens in the society. So that's really something. He put it out in a very, very fun and inspirational way. So that was very nice. And also, one other favorite moment would be speaking with the environmentalist, because that's also my passion. And I've been, from the time I've been here, like I've tried to change a few things in terms of helping the children be very passionate towards the planet, and always helping their minds look at choosing less harmful things for the planet. And so let it be reforestation, let's think about climate change. And the most important thing for us here in India is waste management. And we talk about Swachh Bharat. We are also we think of it as a public ideology, but or that a government should take responsibility to do the waste management appropriately. But it is really upon us. It is individual responsibility that we care for the planet, and at our homes we must take care individually and then influence people. So if we look at the packaging that we select, the packaging we choose, the product we choose when we go to a grocery store, or go to any place, online shopping or in-person shopping, you have to be very wise and careful in choosing what you really want, instead of overbuying, or even be careful about choosing. If you're buying a cookie, be careful about choosing the kind of packaging that they're using. The companies can change that. And so we have that advantage as youngsters today. In all of India, we are around like 60% of population is youngsters. And so we have that power to change the way things happen in our society. So we have the power to choose less harmful things for our planet. We can choose activities that are less harmful for our planet. We can choose things that we buy can be less harmful for our planet. And so try and make your place more green, and try and improve your environment. And it can be as small as starting from your home, and then it could go on to your streets, and then it could. That's time is right now. If we don't take care of it right now, I don't know when we're going to be really appreciative of our time, because I don't know what planet we'll be leaving behind for our.
Yeah. That, I think on the side of a building on Wall Street, there is this countdown timer being set. In 7 years and so many hours and seconds. We are running out of time when the changes that we make to the environment will become irreversible, and therefore Armageddon almost seems inevitable. So that was quite scary to read. And although from my readings, a lot of the corporates, and 70%, it said 70% of greenhouse gases are being produced by 100 companies. There is a degree of personal responsibility that everyone can bring forth towards environmental conservation. That's very essential. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be because your biography is extensive, as you as you will discover, but you're also an ambassador for the Swachh Bharat campaign,
Yes.
or
Yes.
is it right? I mean, okay, I'm glad I got that right. So yeah, so I could see that you don't just say it; you're actually quite serious about it in pushing forward to it. I did see also certain campaigns run by there's the video of a campaign on Swachh Bharat that's being there on the SSBM YouTube page as well. That was quite wonderful to see. And I do believe by leading by example, more and more students also carry forward this element of conservation in their own lives. That's very excellent. And and I also appreciated that that one of what you wish to accomplish by the EduTalk series was that alternative careers that are alternative to medicine or engineering, and these are the main two fields are very essential. Although I was sadly chose to be a doctor initially, I did switch over, but I can very well understand that. And it was a paucity of choice that Indian students face, and that a society really inculcates into you. And all the other fields are often thought to be taken by people who didn't get medicine or engineering, and that's a very unfair representation of what it is, because fields outside of medicine and engineering are no less important. So I really admire that you're campaigning for that, and for students to have a safe space where they can really put forth their bold ideas about doing something outside of this. It's something that only people grown up in India can really appreciate, how much of a pressure that choose between these two. And that almost it segues into your time in Canada in a certain way, because your degree was a bachelor's of entrepreneurship at Vancouver. Is it a BCom in entrepreneurship, or is it so? I'll let you tell the exact specifications of the degree. That's something I absolutely heard of for the first time when I in anticipation for the interview, when I was reading about you, because I hadn't heard. And that by instance, that you're also leading by example, that it's possible to be successful, driven, and be taken quite seriously, even though you're not an engineer or doctor. So that's really an essential message for members of the Indian society, students of the Indian society. Could you tell me more about your time at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver, with the entrepreneurship degree, what it entails, and let's start with that.
Yeah. I definitely love to talk about my experience and in the 4 years I spent at UBC. And so UBC on the whole is, such a wonderful campus. It's 3,000 acres, and so like a city on its own.
Yeah.
So um, it is very huge, and you can imagine how many different faculties are available
Yeah. Yeah.
in such a huge campus, right? So in that, I knew that I always wanted to do a commerce degree, because that's what I chose when I was in my 12th grade. And when I chose to go to Vancouver and University of British Columbia, the first 2 years were different. I think a lot of them were not aware of how the system of education is like in the US or Canada. We have 4 years of degree, and so we need to so the first 2 years we have our own free hands to explore different uh,
Mm-hmm.
in commerce. So we had accounting courses, and
Okay.
um, we had marketing, we had entrepreneurship, we had so many different areas to explore. But I always knew that entrepreneurship is going to be my thing,
Mm.
because I know I'm going to be coming back and learning from my parents and helping with the schools. But at the same time, I've always been dreaming about becoming a social entrepreneur. And
Mm.
by social entrepreneur, I mean maybe a lot of people think social enterprise means it should be an NGO, a nonprofit, but it's different. It can be an NGO, it can be a nonprofit organization, but a social enterprise can also be a for-profit organization. You can generate revenue, but at the same time, you do something good for the society. So you make a difference in the society through your value proposition. It could be your
Yeah.
product or service that you're delivering, but you benefit the society on the whole. And you generate revenue. And so that was something I learned there, and I was really stuck to that idea, and that's how I got into sustainability courses and innovation in sustainability, and then I also did social entrepreneurship courses. So those courses were very, very enriching, because I got to meet so many experts in the field, and we definitely had a very practical approach to learning. A bit different from how it would be in a research-driven university. It is research-driven, but at the same time, you get more of a practical exposure to everything you do. We have lab sessions on in innovation, so we have incubation labs, and we kind of create ideas. We don't just create ideas, but we see the execution of them. We go right from they call it the IDEO process. So we ideate, we try to solve a problem, we ideate, and then we build a prototype for a product or a service, and in the end you see how it's working, and then that's how you launch it to the market. So at least we've worked until that stage on multiple ideas on how it can benefit the society. And so in that way, I think it was just a very, very different experience, learning from my professors to my peers who are also sharing the same passion. So when people around you are sharing the same passion, we end up talking about more and more things in the same field and ideas. So that's something that's always been there. And through my 4 years of experience, one moment that I wouldn't forget is my meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. I was very, very fortunate that I was there during that time in Vancouver, and the Prime Minister made a trip to Canada. He makes a trip usually I think the prime ministers of India make a trip all over the world, and they travel. But they usually travel only to Toronto or cities on the west. But this was the first time Prime Minister of India traveled to Vancouver, and I don't know. I felt like it was God's grace, that I got to meet him one-on-one. For about 30 minutes, discussing about social entrepreneurship and how we could build citizens of India in a very effective way by helping these children attain entrepreneurial mindsets right from when they're during their childhood. So being entrepreneurial doesn't just apply for a person who wants to start a new venture, go on a startup, or work on a business. But I think having an entrepreneurial mindset is really, really essential for every citizen. Even if you're working for someone, if you're contributing to an organization, I think entrepreneurial mindset is very important. And on top of that, being socially responsible is even more important. So if you're having that kind of mindset, I think we will do a wonderful job as a society together. And I really enjoyed having that conversation with our Prime Minister, and he encouraged me to join him on his mission with Swachh Bharat when I returned to India. And like I promised, I'm now able to contribute and be part of this mission. And so that's something that I value during that time as well. And it was not. I don't know. I just feel very fortunate about my entire 4 years of experience there to have explored so many things. And as a city, how Vancouver is also one of the most, I think, zero waste cities. So they're very, very about where the garbage goes. And right from, if I was living in my apartment and if I had to discard certain things like my bed, I would resell most of it. But if I had to sell, or if I had to sell, it would probably be even cheaper than actually discarding them. So
Oh,
it
okay,
was
okay.
so your garbage or things that you think are discardable actually hold a lot of value. So
Hmm.
you need to think about it that way. And so if I obviously couldn't sell off my bed, so I had to go and my mattress, so I had to go and discard my mattress. And when I discarded my mattress by the after the 4-year use, they definitely charged me so much to discard a mattress, because now they'd be able to recycle the materials from the
Hmm.
mattress. But they had a very, very organized system. And the Vancouver City Corporation had such an organized system. I could drive in, and right from the gate to going in, we were able to view the entire process of how the garbage is being recycled, and how they're being segregated appropriately. And it's on citizens as well to segregate them appropriately. So we have signs and labels everywhere we go. You'll feel guilty if you don't segregate them properly, because you have the 3 bins. Um, and by the end of the day, even in India, we have a lot of these corporation workers who are, quite passionate about their job, which is something I didn't know when I never met them. But when I met them, they were all so motivated and so passionate about doing this for our society. So it's not like it's just a job that they found, and they have to do this because they have no other goal. There are people like that, but they are enjoying what they're doing. But at the same time, we need to be aware that there are human beings taking our garbage. I think we imagine some third person being comfortable taking your garbage.
Hmm.
Why shouldn't we think about our own garbage, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
for for us to care for them, because there are glass pieces, or things like mask, which is really important during this time. People just discard them irresponsibly, without thinking the after effects of what would be happening. Imagine these people carrying those, having to pick up those masks, and if they don't have the right kind of gears to support them,
Hmm.
prevent them
Yeah, yeah.
such infections, any kind of infections, they're going to be affected as well, or they're going to be hurt by glass pieces, or they're going to be hurt by uh, things like that. So we have to be very careful about how we discard these masks. Maybe wrap it with a paper and put it in the red bin, and have 3 bins at your home. Just mark it blue, red, and green. And red is always harmful for anybody. If you touch it, it's going to be harmful for anyone. So discard them that way. And green is obviously going to be anything that's compostable and edible, or
Hmm.
biodegradable. So that way, it's easy to segregate that. And blue is going to be anything that's recyclable. So if we do
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
on our end, it's going to be much easier for the people who are working for this, and
Hmm.
it's going to make their jobs a little more better. They're going to be happier when they see the waste already segregated, instead of them having to segregate using
Yeah.
their own hands. So let's think about them. When we can touch our own garbage, but imagine a third person touching
Hmm.
someone
Yeah.
else's
I
garbage.
I picked up on a lot of things in your description, in your answer to the question about Vancouver. One of this is that it's I've heard very wonderful things about Vancouver as well. There, the policy is such that you incentivize behavior towards environmental conservation. When there's policy incentivizing such behavior, you're gonna get better, and that's what is lacking. And that's something extraordinary that Vancouver has done. And also your a kind of emphasis on entrepreneurship at VP. And that's essentially true because we've lost the discern the the ability to discern between what is it being an entrepreneur who has skin in the game, who actually just puts a lot of himself into the work, himself or herself into the work. I apologize. I should make sure both pronouns are included. Himself or herself into the work, and that's a very essential mindset of an entrepreneur. While while it's different from just managerial or just a CEO who's taking care of someone else without much of their own skin in the game, and one is actually a lot more honorable in whatever terms of work it is done. And entrepreneurship does give you that, and it also gave me a slight window of how you process places and things, because there you are going to study in Vancouver, and yet here you are discussing about the various policies that are happening in Vancouver, the waste management policy of Vancouver. That's the mindset of an entrepreneur by themselves, where they go and learn so much about the places they are in, much more in certain ways about the policies and how they can bring back. That's an excellent demonstration of the entrepreneurship that you emphasized on earlier. So that's really wonderful. That's really wonderful to hear. And yeah, that's a quite a wonderful mindset to have, especially if you are wishing to be an entrepreneur. And so people who are listening, do cultivate that in your mind, that wherever you are, pick up things from pick up cues from your environment and see how things are in their context. That's excellent. And yeah, so, and I'm sure meeting the prime minister must have been an overwhelming, incredible experience by itself. Yeah, and to keep yourself calm and collected through talking to him for, I guess, about half an hour or 40 minutes or whatever is the degree of time you did, must have taken a bit of resolve by itself. Yes. And so we spent a good deal of time talking about education. We have barely scratched the surface even there. But for the need of keeping time, we have to switch over to other things as well that you've done, which is extra. So let's start with something that we mutually share. That's a love for music. And I mean, you're a very accomplished musician. You have several albums out, and these aren't just albums in any sense, because even here you don't seem to go to the mainstream of going to playback singing or cinema singing, but rather you are trying to be an independent musician and bringing out albums. You had a Bharatiyar album out, which is extraordinary, which is something good. You did emphasize about why English should be your prima facie means of communication in schools, but also the fact that you made a Bharatiyar album also says how much you appreciate the value of Tamil and of the culture that you're born into. That's an excellent thing. So you made that album, you made another independent album. You've been featured on several several very prominent sites, and you sung with extraordinary musicians. So we'll go into them one by one. We should go into them one by one. Unfortunately, we don't have all day. And we must maybe do a part two with you. Maybe take one aspect of your life and do a complete, in-depth conversation on that. But let's just start about what role music plays in your life and how you approach it, and how about your singing, and then you can talk about the various singers you worked with and how special those opportunities were.
Well, music is something that's so soulful, and whenever I sit for singing, it's like meditation on its own. So
Mm.
when I listen to myself, or when I just listen to music, it's always it's like food for the soul, and I enjoy doing it. And so, talking about how I got into making albums, or singing for the albums, um, it was quite different even 5 years back. If you see, the music industry was, we all in India, we look at Bollywood music, and we take music from the films, and we listen to film music from the films mostly. But during that time, there were not a lot of independent music artists coming out with independent albums, and I thought I could start off with going deviating from the norm, and so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have that. And it's still a bit different from how the independent albums are being done abroad. So
Mm.
why don't we integrate our culture and have value into every song that we create? And so if you listen to every song in the albums, you would have that there's always a valuable message in every song. And so that has always been my goal when we do independent albums. I want to pass on some message to the society, to the youth who's listening to the album, or to anybody who's listening to it. They should feel happy at the same time. It should be music that they would love to hear at the same time. If we're able to uh, deliver that kind of message and value, that'd be wonderful. So that's the idea I had when I created that. And my parents were definitely very supportive. They've been supportive, and they let me explore all these different ventures, getting into music, or getting into air rifle shooting, or I used to play tennis, and then so I learned how to play badminton, and then I learned how to play Veena, and I learned how to play um, um, so many different games, and this was all at school. I
Mm.
used to play basketball and everything, but um, I also tried a bit of fencing when I went to the university. So I had the opportunity to explore all these different activities, just like the other students did at our schools. And so these, I think that's one really valuable thing that you get to do in schools. When you explore so many different areas, you get to know what you're really good at, and sometimes what you're good at will not be your passion, but both need to align. And so these were I was really interested in music. I was interested in air rifle shooting, and I wanted to continue to do something in this field, no matter what profession I take forward in the future. So that has always been my dream right from my childhood. And so that's how I got into them. And fortunately, when I met music director Dina at school, he was very much inclined to making a music album with me, and that
Mm.
was first opportunity. And so I'm always very grateful to him for to have agreed to collaborate. And so we did that, and I think that was the first album, Pudiya Bharati, and I enjoyed working on it. And I sang with Vijay Prakash sir. I got an opportunity to sing with Hari Haran sir and Uni Krishnan sir. So and Madhu Balakrishnan, who is a very close family friend as well. So all these singers, whenever I meet them, I learn so much from them, as to because there's no musical background in my family. I think I'm the first one to enter into this field in the whole of this family. So that way, I'm the first generation musician here. So I had the opportunity to learn so much from these eminent musicians. And so in every album that we did together, we had the opportunity to interact and share so much valuable experiences and information. So I've learned a great deal from all of them. And um, I think one of the most favorite albums would be Siragadi Pain, because I think we that was an album I did right before I went to Vancouver. So it was all about a girl being able to follow her dreams, follow her passion, and fly away to wherever she wants to go. And so that's how the name Siragadi Pain came in. And so being so independent and everything, and it was kind of it felt like it was directed uh, to the story of me going to Vancouver. But yeah, I think a lot of youth, a lot of our youngsters travel abroad for their education, and fortunately, people do come back into to contributing to India. So
Yeah.
it's always that you go to different places and you explore. And so these kind of messages were, these kind of unique messages were there in the album. And I was so fortunate to sing with MS Vishwanathan sir when he was
Yeah.
music director, but he sang in the album with me, and it was a very enriching experience, because being a grandfather, and then it was like a grandfather granddaughter song. So he is
Hmm.
raving about
Very conversational, wasn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So he is
It was
kind of
very. Yeah.
yeah. So he is raving about his generation and the culture and the value of
Hmm.
friendship that
Hmm.
he held during his times. And
Hmm.
then I was trying to talk great about our generation and how friendship is these days with and with social media and all these kind of things coming into the world, technology and everything. But but in the end, the granddaughter just gives up and says your culture is great no matter what. So that kind of information and message there. And I also had an opportunity to sing with SPB sir. And yeah, it's just so I don't know, I feel very, very fortunate to have been able to sing with such legendary musicians and learn so much from them. And this is going to be a lifelong valuable experience for me. And I'd love to carry this forward along with my profession. So yeah.
It is quite extraordinary, almost a separate career by itself. And I really loved your use of the term first generation musician. We kind of imply that he's the first generation of doctor in his family. That's looked at proudly. We should make sure that first generation is looked at in a similar vein, and it becomes part of a lingo. Yeah, he's the first generation musician in his family. That needs to be carried on with as much pride as any other field, really. Because I was so in Dead Society, which is a wonderful film. Robin Williams, who stars and has this very very touching. He says, medicine, engineering, and law. These are really noble pursuits, and they're essential for sustainability. But art, music, and dance is what we live for, and there is a certain extraordinary importance that these fields state life in its various forms, and not just celebrate, they also reflect life in their various forms. And so yeah, you want your sons and daughters to be doctors and engineers and so on, but you also want them to have a good life, and this is very essential for that, and not just career based development. But again, I am glossing over a lot of things that you've done, but we have to move on to one more thing that you've done, which is that you're an avid sports person. I don't know, you did fencing at British Columbia, so you're good with sport and good with guards. Excellent. So, but yeah, if I get this right, you state record and won gold medal at the state championship in air rifle. Then on maiden attempt, on your first attempt, you both set the state record. So, but I am sure that most, including myself, are fully aware about rifle and shooting events. So, could you tell a bit more about that event was, what it entails? And it sounds very interesting. And could you tell us about the record that you set as well?
Yeah, I'd love to share. So, how it all began is I was an NCC cadet, and we had to. I was part of NCC
Of
for
course.
years at school, and I never got to
Yeah.
practice so much of air rifle shooting, but I think I had to dive in right away for a best cadet event where I had to shoot with a .22 rifle, air rifle, and that was my
Hmm.
first time shooting properly without the usual gun shooting we do at the beaches. We shoot the balloons.
Yeah.
So this was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a different experience because I was actually shooting the target, and it was the first time. And there was a coach who helped me. Uh, he gave a few instructions right before, but I went in. I don't know if it was beginner's luck, but I actually got a 9 out of 10 on the target, and so all the officers
Is
there
it a
were
moving?
quite
Is it a stationary target or a moving target? A stationary one or a moving one?
it's a stationary target, and it was actually 25 meters
Okay. Okay.
distance, and so
Oh. Okay. Okay.
prone shooting. So I was lying down on the ground, and so that was the
Oh.
first time we are competing with. So the both men and women are competing in the same event, and so
Yeah, okay.
I expect that I would be hitting 9 bullseye, and just one went out a little further, but it was 9 out of 10. And all the officers were quite taken aback, and they were surprised to see who is this girl. Until then, they didn't know who I was, but they were quite surprised to see who's this girl who got a 9 out of 10. And you wouldn't believe the second was, I think, a boy's score, and he scored 5 out of 10. And this was something unbelievable.
I believe you. At this point, I'm believing this. Nothing you do, almost it sounds like hyperbole, but because it comes from you, I'm going to believe it. But go on.
So that was a very unbelievable experience, and I thought maybe I should explore this. I got very interested in shooting right at that time. I find this sport to be also a form of meditation, just like how I find singing. A lot of it takes in a lot of breathing techniques, and for you to be very focused right from beginning till the end, and right from your body posture. People might think, what's so hard in air rifle shooting? But it's your mind, it's your focus. A lot of exercise for your brain at the same time for your body. You're going to be standing for an entire hour in the same position without moving, which is quite a hard task. You need a lot of strength to do that as well. So that's how I began. And while we were having a sports day event at school, all the NCC cadets were called to shoot again, and I was one of them. And fortunately, that sports day, the chief guest was a Commonwealth gold medalist in air rifle shooting, and he brought his coach, who is Commander Tate, and he actually saw that I will be able to shoot even better if I got some training. And then he immediately called me for training, and I went to the camp to start shooting. And so that's when it started on a serious note, when I began following shooting as my passion. And so for the first time, I'm touching in proper open sight air rifle, and then a pin sight air rifle. So that was such a beautiful experience for me. I think he, right at the time he saw my target, he made sure, and he told me that I will be an All India shooter. I just thought he'll make me an All India shooter, but I never thought I'd be a gold medalist. So I always learned from him that I shouldn't be thinking of aiming for a gold, or aiming to win, but I should be aiming to do the right thing. So I should be following the right techniques. So I've always been having those things in my mind when I shot, and so probably that's one of the reasons why I never thought of winning. So and winning comes your way when you actually put in your best. And that's one of the reasons, and that's one way how probably I managed to break the record and win 3 gold medals right in the first event. And then following the state meet, I went to nationals, and I won gold there as well. So until then, I didn't know this mantra of not I don't think you should be thinking about winning, but think about giving your best and following the right techniques, and winning. Success is going to come your way. And so from then, I always believed in that. And whenever I put in so much time and effort into practice every morning, my dad used to wake me up at 4 o'clock, and we both used to go to the indoor shooting range at school. And then I began training. He usually goes for rounds in the morning. There were residential children at school as well. So he used to go around walking in the buildings, and while I was shooting. So I think that was probably a nightmare for a lot of the students who were sleeping in the dormitories, because our shooting range used to be quite close to the dormitories. And whenever I shoot, there'll be every shot there'll be like top, and the boys and girls will wake up with my shooting noise. So yeah, so it was a different.
And they must also be scared that the management's daughter at school also surprised a very good target shooter. They must also be pretty scared. But I really appreciated what you said about similarities between meditation. Anybody who has tried meditation for any decent amount of time will know how extraordinarily difficult it is to stay present. And I think the key word is to be still. How to be still after a moment. I've been meditating for a couple of years myself, and you realize with the passing how very poor you are in being in the present and being still, and how much effort it takes to achieve that. And so I can see how it is very transferable to something like a rifle shooting, where you're supposed to be in the present because you're thinking about winning, you're not in the present, and that skews your targets. Extremely important to maintain. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to be very mindful of every action. So I think
Mm.
beyond shooting or singing, we have to always be thinking about relevance and purpose in our lives. And so that's one message I would like to share with
Mm.
everybody as we're moving to the final leg of the session. Um, I think that
Yeah.
no matter what you do, you have to always carry that relevance and purpose right from the time you wake up in the morning to the end of the day. Everything that you do
Mm.
should carry on a purpose and should be um, contributing to the greater goal that you have. And together, when we think about individually being responsible for our planet and for our well-being, I think we can do a wonderful job in making a change happen in this world. So, being youngsters, young leaders, not we see at least like 1% of population, youth population, making that change happen right now. But how wonderful would it be if all of the 60%, made that change happen? We're going to be able to change the world. So I encourage everyone who's listening to this, or everybody who is, looking at developing their passion and career, to always think of relevance and purpose and what we're going to leave behind for this planet Earth. Yeah.
That's a wonderful note to really that's a really nice message, and I absolutely have admire all that, and it shows an extraordinary potential for entrepreneurship in you. And even you described with music, right? You didn't start about what you did, but you were talking about how the industry is and how you felt you could be a part of that. Even there, you have this incredibly analytical, incredibly entrepreneurial mindset there. That's excellent. To see you in practice, that's really nice. And so before we move on to the last segment, I think it kind of matches the question that we also had. So I'll combine those two. We had one question on Zoom, and it's about how it is that the question is from Nandini, who's a student who was a student at SSTM Metaphysium, and she said, she were very inspiring for women who want to be like you in the future, and a very wonderful note of encouragement. And also, and that ties in with it because the experience of being of this is extraordinarily different from the experience of being a man in especially in a country India where gender roles are quite disparate, and often one gender is often suppressed in the name of tradition and so on. To come from that context and to do what you've done in double, it's even more extraordinary than that. So would you like to talk about it in terms of how about the challenges you might have faced, or if not as a general advice to people who are women who want to take on journeys that are similar to yours?
So, are you just to clarify? So, did you want me to talk about how my role as a woman was challenging throughout my years, and how the society
Yeah, sure.
sees it?
Yeah. I'm sorry for the lack of clarity in my question. You can ask. You can go on about how you felt your role as a woman coming up, and not role, how you felt as a woman coming up, and the challenges you faced. And I think that generally translates into advice for others as well. Go on. Yeah.
I think for me, personally, I didn't have a great deal of issues being a woman and having to go through different kind of challenges. That's because I think parents in this age really, really need to give that kind of confidence and self-esteem to their daughters. And that's something that I was fortunate enough to have, because my parents have built me to be that, develop that strong quality in me. And I've always learned to be having that self-esteem and confidence in whatever I do. So that no matter, even if you are a new parent, or if you if you're an existing parent, it's really, really important to bring that value up in your child. So women these days, you don't have to think about you being very different from those of men. We have all the abilities, we have everything we can to, be as equal as we can to men, and men do that. Men respect us for all that. And I got married at a very young age. So I got married when I was 20. That was again a very different experience for me to learn from. In the last 3 years, I've learned so much in a married life, and how a man can be, respectful towards his woman. And so these kind of things, I don't think, even if these things are not being there, existing in the society, I think it's on our perspectives, it's on how we see the world. We have to always have that positive attitude and, see the world that way. I had challenges maybe when I was at school, that, you know, um, uh, probably some of the boys were not happy about me shooting. And so they used to go tear my face up on the bulletin boards. And so, yeah, that happened. But
Wow.
it was, no matter what, we always have to stay up strong. And by now, um, those boys, whoever did it, did come up and, apologize for it. And now they realize that that was a mistake. So
Yeah.
so when you grow up, and when you grow up into such responsible citizens, no matter what, even if you get your support or not, I think you as a woman need to look at society and world in a very positive way. And when you have that positive intent, everything around you will be surrounded with such positivity. And ignore anything that's coming your way to drain your energy, drain your self-esteem, draining your confidence. I don't think we need to be thinking about giving a great deal of importance for those kind of issues, but we individually become very strong emotionally, and take all these with, a shield. And yeah, so that's a very unique way to perceive these things. We would have had different challenges coming our way. So all these things, I think, forgetting about the negative things that happen, and just, looking at the positivity, and being so optimistic in every goal, every action that you have, action that you do, it is going to make a change. It is going to make a difference in your life, and influencing such quality, and bringing in, inspiring many more women around you, then that can bring in change on the whole. So we all see, this glass ceiling effect everywhere, not just in India. We have it in very developed countries. You would have seen, the Senate and White House as well. So there's so many situations like these, and we learn from women who are so strong, and we learn from women who are um, uh, they're just, breaking the way, and breaking the norm. And one of the inspirations for me is my mom herself. So I have grown up and getting inspired by my mom, and how she's so strong and bold and breaking the barriers. And so that quality again comes to me. So now whenever I'm becoming a mother, I would want the same thing for my child. And so every parent, every mother especially, should break out that norm of being a typical woman, who just needs to actually take care of their household chores, but give that equal responsibility to your man and in the family, and everybody gets to do that. And you don't have to just do household chores. It's definitely a responsibility to do them, but you have to look at not just doing them, but also following your passion and giving that equal responsibility to everybody in your house to, follow whatever you're wanting them to do as well. So having more and more stronger mothers, sharing this with their daughters, I think would be the most wonderful thing, and it's going to be a wonderful quality to hold in the society. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we are really short of time. So if would there be one time for one more question with you? Shall I ask another, just the last question, and then we'll end on it? Because I'm an actor. This is a question that is asked, this is a question that I'm asking rather than anybody else. But so would you tell me your top recommendations? And because you are definitely a person with a lot of experience and a lot of ideas regarding a lot of philosophical ideology. So I'm sure you would have your top books recommended. So, would give your top book recommendations for us. What are the books that you would recommend to people who say they are to get inspiration?
Well, thank you for asking that. I think it's definitely hard to pick from the top. So, having been inspired by reading so many books, so one book that I really value is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you've read.
Carnegie. Yeah, yeah.
And I love to read motivational books more than fictional books, because reading from experiences from people, reading from biographies and reading from autobiographies and reading such inspirational books that share values, share messages, we learn on the go. No matter what profession we are into, we carry such valuable information with us, and it makes us such better human beings, and so this is a very, very interesting book, learning to be humble and approaching your friends, or approaching to people, how you can actually be the best human being possible around people. And so that book was, I think, one of the best. And also a book that was gifted by my dad, that is Unposted Letters by Mahatria. And so that was not a book where I read at one shot, but I really took my time, and every chapter has its own story, and so it has it makes you fall in love with any situation that you are in. So there are different stories in it. So whenever I feel a bit low or something, I just carry that book and turn off to just one random chapter, and I would just read that, and I feel so energized and rejuvenated. So I think that's a very, very beautiful book, and also helps us direct our purpose of living. So that's a really great book. And also we talked about Ikigai. So the
Yeah.
uh, how we talk about the purpose of getting out of your bed every morning. So that should be something that's holding you to be very excited for your day, excited for living in this planet. So that book is really, really amazing to kind of direct where your passion is, your profession, and then what you would love to do for this world. So that's a great book. And recently I began reading Becoming by Michelle Obama. And so her story is very,
Yeah.
inspiring as well. So I haven't finished the book yet, but hopefully soon. So yeah, these are all great reads, and it'll be great if everyone gets to
Yeah.
read. Yeah.
Yeah. Dale Carnegie especially was one I really helped. I read that first time when I was in my seventh standard, and then again in tenth, and then again. It was written way early. It was 1930s or 40s. It was written, and it still holds true. A lot of those principles on how to be a better social being. So thank you for your time, and it was absolutely wonderful conversing with you. Really, so much for your presence, and I'm sure ISPWD is really honored to have you here on the podcast and to send your inspiring message to lots of people out there. This to the audience. This will also put on YouTube and on Facebook after it's been processed, so you can revisit parts of the if you want to on there as well. So I'd like to conclude with that. So thank you for telling your extraordinary story. So yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me and directing this, hosting this show, and also I thank IFPWD for having me on the show, and congratulations to IFPWD for turning 1 year, and they've been
Yeah.
doing work even during this pandemic, and I would encourage them to carry this forward with more strength and energy, and have more youth on board. So this is very inspiring, and I encourage them to keep doing this. And yeah, thank you very much,
Yeah,
and
sure.
thanks for being here with us and listening to us. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and I think that's a very good high note of conversation on. So yeah, goodbye.
Bye.